Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so.
Hey, shalom, hope you're well and hanging in there, fighting the good fight of belief as instructed by Yahusha HaMashiach. I'm going to talk about the fruit of the Ruach of belief before lastly meekness and temperance in a follow-up video. And I'm going to start with an overview on who Yahuwah is, confirming him as creator in the scriptures through his son Yahusha HaMashiach, before moving on to his resurrection and the importance of his sacrificial death, because these are the most important areas of belief that should be clarified first, before going on to discuss the theme of belief and hope generally as it pertains to the salvation of our soul and to our actions that we must take in belief and in hope of achieving salvation. And so, in getting straight to the point, with what must ultimately be believed, which of course is that Yahuwah is sovereign creator and ruler of all things, that he is the provider and the bestower of eternal salvation through his son Yahusha HaMashiach, and that Yahusha HaMashiach died and rose again. And from there is complete belief in deliverance and salvation through him, whilst upholding our end of commitment. Now, Yahuwah is sovereign creator through Yahusha HaMashiach. As written, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. All things were made by the word of Yahuwah, who is Yahusha HaMashiach, also confirmed in the book of Yeshayahu, where it says, I am Yahuwah Elohika, that divided the sea, whose waves roared. Yahuwah Sepaoth is his name. And I have put my words in your mouth, and I have covered you in the shadow of my hand, that I may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and say unto Zion, you are my people. So Yahuwah has put his words in the mouth of Yahusha HaMashiach, the first-hand representation of Yahuwah, his direct word in every sense, who has been covered in the shadow of Yahuwah's hand to plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth. And it's only through him, Yahusha HaMashiach, that Zion, representing the children of Yasha'al and those grafted in, might be called his people. So existence and eternal salvation are through Yahusha HaMashiach, who is also, as written, Yahuwah's son. But how so? How is Yahusha HaMashiach his son? Well, we can start here, where the word tells us that there are three that bear record in heaven: the Father, the Word, and the Ruach HaKodesh. And these three are one. And so it's commonly known that at the appointed time, the Ruach HaKodesh overshadowed Miriam, constituting what was a preternatural influence over the womb of Miriam, who had been with no man. And so through miraculously, holy, physically untouched means, she was able to bring forth a child. And so hence the angel Gabriel told Miriam, therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of you shall be called the son of Elohim, the son of Yahuwah. And so as testified later by Yahachanan, the word was made flesh and tabernacled among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And from there on, the news of the kingdom of Yahuwah began, and Yahuwah was in Mashiach, reconciling the world unto himself. And without controversy, great is the mystery of righteousness. Yahuwah was manifest in the flesh, justified in the Ruach, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world. So, to reiterate, Yahuwah is one with Yahusha HaMashiach, who was with Yahuwah in the beginning as the Word, who made all things. And so, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahuwah, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Which moves us on to those who deny Yahuwah's existence on the basis of not being able to see him, forgetting that all things around us are actually made up of invisible particles or factors that we cannot see in the first place. For example, gravity, an invisible force that pulls all things together towards a center. Atoms, the building blocks of everything, bound together by electromagnetic forces that again are invisible. the strong nuclear force which binds particles of matter together, which again we cannot see. And then there is also what has recently been termed dark matter, which makes up 80% plus of all matter in the universe, which once again we cannot see. And so, second to Yahuwah's spirit, which is the bringer of life, other invisible factors also contribute to our existence, which, like Yahuwah's spirit and the spiritual realm, we cannot see, but do know of or feel their existence and operation. Alongside firm belief in Yahuwah being creator through his son Yahusha HaMashiach, just as important elsewhere it's written that if you shall confess with your mouth Adonai Yahusha and shall believe in your heart that Yah has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Now, if there's any doubts around confessing Yahusha HaMashiach, around his existence or him being a factual person of history, a small series has been put together on this channel titled Yahusha HaMashiach is Come in the Flesh. The links are in the description box below to these 5 videos which I'm hovering over with my mouse here, showing documentations, references, archaeological finds and testimonies surrounding Yahusha's existence. But just to remind, it's not only belief in Yahusha HaMashiach that must be confessed, there must also be the belief and the confession in Yahuwah having raised him from the dead, which is where skeptics and atheists or agnostics might ask, how is that even possible? Well, of course, with men, that sort of thing isn't possible. But with Yahuwah, all things are possible. And in this case, for Yahuwah, that would simply be him placing the Ruach back into the body after it had left. The word tells us, Yahuwah stretches forth the heavens and lays the foundation of the earth and forms the Ruach of man within him. So, we understand that there is a Ruach in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty gives them understanding. There's an account in the book of Matithyahu where Yahusha raised the maiden back to life, where it is written that her Ruach came again and she arose straightway. So Yahusha HaMashiach operated in the power of Yahuwah, who, being the Elohai of the spirits of all flesh, caused the maiden spirit to come back again, which is exactly what Yahuwah did with Yahusha HaMashiach, which shouldn't really come as a surprise if we put the word Almighty into context. Behold, I am Yahuwah, the Elohai of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? Ah, Adonai Yahuwah, behold, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and stretched out arm, and there is nothing too hard for you. And so, why should it be thought a thing incredible with you that Yahuwah should raise the dead? Why was Yahusha HaMashiach sacrificed and raised back from the dead, some may ask? Well, as straightforward as most may know, his sacrificial death and resurrection was for our sins, because by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. For as in Adam all die, even so in HaMashiach shall all be made alive. So through HaMashiach, who has been given the keys of death, every single one of us who has ever lived will be made alive. And through Yahusha's obedience and sacrifice unto death, many will be made righteous. Now, as well as for our sins, part and parcel of Yahusha's sacrifice also meant him taking on the flesh of man, and so being able to empathize with our experiences. And then from there, of course, going on to provide hope for mankind through the reality of a resurrection, and so giving reason for no fear of death. Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to Yahuwah, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to help them that are tempted. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. So, most go through life fearful of the unknown. Others go through life fearful of evil, of demons, or fearful of the adversary's threats, and so basically fearful of death, and so in bondage to it. Whereas Yahusha HaMashiach, he came down casting out demons, and aiming also to remove doubt and cowardice from the mind, and to provide absolute reassurance to his followers in providing a way to overcome evil through belief and trust in Yahuwah. Yahusha was manifest in his last times for you, who by him do believe in Yahuwah, that raised him up from the dead, and gave him glory, that your belief and hope might be in Yahuwah. And so ask yourself, without that belief and hope in Yahuwah, what overall purpose is there to life? Well, none whatsoever really, because if there's no hope at the end of, say, an 80-year life, if you're fortunate, and that also passes by so quickly, with you at the end of it just left there on your own, well, there's no real point to that sort of life, is there, really and truly? So hence Yahushua HaMashiach came down, giving purpose to this life and to the life that's to come through his sacrifice. Because as some may know, under Yasha'al, or Israel's first covenant with Yahuwah, it was the high priest who would offer sacrifices of animals on behalf of the sins of the nation of Yasha'al, as well as for his own sins. As written concerning that specific time period, every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Yahuwah, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins, who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity, and by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. So under the first covenant, it was the priests from the tribe of Levi who was deemed fit by Yahuwah to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins, with the sacrifice itself being necessary because the life of the flesh is in the blood, and it is the blood that makes an atonement for the soul. However, that ordinance of the priest was only to be until Yahushua HaMashiach arrived, to fulfill prophecy and to fulfill Yahuwah's will, and to teach his followers the way, which was preordained. Because it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. And so, for the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the priestly regimen. For he of whom these things are spoken pertains to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar. For it is evident that our Adonai sprang out of Yehuda, of which tribe Moshe spoke nothing concerning priesthood. And it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek there arises another priest, who is made not after the regimen of the commands of the flesh, but after the power of an endless life. So, of Yahuwah's doing, Yahushua HaMashiach is made the new high priest, and he is also made unto the tribe of Yehuda, and after the similitude of Melchizedek, in the sense that Melchizedek was not only a priest, but was also a king. So he was the two combined. Melchizedek, king of Shalem, and he was also the priest of the Most High Elohim. And, given further interpretation to the meaning of Melchizedek, Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 2 says, by interpretation, king of righteousness, and after that also king of Shalem, which is king of peace, which is what Yahushua HaMashiach is, king of righteousness and of peace. And so verse 3 continues of Yahushua HaMashiach, who being without father, and without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of Elohim, abides a priest continually. So as written, Yahushua HaMashiach is without father, that is, without a physical fleshly father, because if he had, then by default Yahushua HaMashiach would have also inherited sin, whereas the word says that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. And he is without mother, in the hypothetical sense, because Miriam was the untouched vessel used to bring forth Yahushua HaMashiach, without descent, that is, without the physical carnal genealogy which humans are accustomed to, with Yahushua having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of Elohim. And that is how the word of Yahuwah was brought forth, according to the will of Yahuwah. And so, as David prophesied earlier of his Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, saying, Yahuwah has sworn and will not repent, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And so clearly Yahusha is not like high priests of old who themselves with shortcomings would have to set up an altar each year on earth to sacrifice an animal to Yahuwah on behalf of himself and the assembly. Yahushua Mashiach is the immortal high priest, petitioning the Most High for us in Yahuwah's direct presence, which no man can come onto. And Yahushua doesn't need to bring the blood of animals as an atonement for the soul, because Yahushua Mashiach is the atonement for the soul. His death his undefiled, holy blood represents the sacrifice. Yahushua HaMashiach is the petition. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctifies to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of HaMashiach, who through the eternal Ruach offered himself without spot to Yahuwah, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Yah. Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such a high priest, who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which Yahuwah pitched, and not man. So it's Yahuwah's will for Yahushua HaMashiach to be high priest and to be in his direct presence petitioning for us. That is Yahuwah's declaration. That's his oath, which he pitched to be so. He officially ordained it so because the ordinance performed by the priest previously in the Torah was a shadow of what was ordained to be. For the Torah has a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect. For then would they not have ceased to be offered? Because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins. But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins every year, for it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. And so sacrifices of the past under the Torah were not able to make people clean and perfect, which high priests and assemblies knew, which is why the ordinance was performed continually or yearly in the first place. It was just a shadow or a type of representation of what was to come, because only the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach can purge your conscience to feel comfortable to come and serve Yahuwah, who can then only sanctify you as holy. The body of Yahushua HaMashiach was prepared to be a one-time sacrifice on the day that he came into this earth as Son of Yahuwah. In the volume of the book, from Genesis even, where Yahuwah prophesied that the seed of the woman would bruise the head of the serpent for bringing the works of sin onto the earth. And so it's for this purpose the Son of Elohim was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. So in summary, Yahushua HaMashiach gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. These things speak and exhort and rebuke with all authority. Let no man despise you. Despisers are on the broad path of destruction along with the unrepentant and the unbeliever. And since the time of Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahuwah has revealed this, not only through his word, but also to several individuals who have had visions or dreams of what is to come, as Yahuwah said he would reveal. And here's just one small snippet amongst how many others.
Took me to a tunnel where I saw thousands of people fall into the abyss. And it was not like 1,000 or 2,000. It was like the sand of the ocean without number. They would fall like this per second. They would fall like handfuls.
Wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. And so we pray you in HaMashiach's stead, be ye reconciled to Yahuwah, for he has made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of Yah in him. Now, with belief in Yahuwah as creator and in his son's death and resurrection should come hope in the ultimate goal, which is salvation of the soul. The word defines belief as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, people hope for many things in this day especially, which in the end will actually mean nothing. For example, some hope to graduate from university and pursue a career in line with their degree. Their end goal, which is employment in their chosen field, is not yet a reality whilst they're studying, but when the end goal is achieved, employment in the field would finally be the evidence of what they had hoped for. And that hope is what spurs them on to operate in belief and persist with studies with the end goal in mind, which is the exact same concept with Yahushua HaMashiach, whom having not seen, ye love, in whom, though now you see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your belief, even the salvation of your souls. So salvation of the soul is the non-superficial, ultimate substance of what every believer should be hoping for, really and truly. And although salvation of the soul is not yet seen, We firmly believe in, and in some cases know, that the soul exists, which then becomes evidence for the possibility of its salvation. Take the true story of Pam Reynolds, for example, who under operation had died but was still able to relay details and events of her surroundings when she became conscious. And so hers and many cases like it offer evidence for an afterlife of the soul, and so the possibility of its salvation or saving, through Yahushua Mashiach, of course. Have a listen to an overview of Pam's case, and I'll be back afterwards.
Sometimes answers come from unlikely sources. In this case, the unlikely source was a woman named Pam Reynolds. A stunning array of scientific instruments and measurements were in place at the very moment of Pam Reynolds' death. The results were astonishing. At age 35, Pam was diagnosed with a life-threatening brain aneurysm. Her only hope was a very unusual operation. In order to fix the problem and to save her life, doctors would have to drain the blood out of Pam Reynolds' head. What's more, her body temperature would be lowered to 60 degrees. Her heartbeat and breathing would stop completely, and her brain waves would be flattened. Doctors who perform this intense procedure have nicknamed it standstill, because for all intents and purposes, Pam Reynolds would be dead. But what happened was so thoroughly unique and unexpected, Dr. Michael Sabin, a cardiologist and the author of Light and Death, made an extensive evaluation of the Pam Reynolds experience.
The process of death, scientifically, now is known to be a process and not a point in time. It starts with normal waking reality and ends up in irreversible death. During this process, the body dies at different rates. The problem we have as scientists and physicians is to determine when the brain is actually dead, i.e. when the person is actually dead.
In the case of Pam Reynolds, one of the surgeon's main concerns was seizure activity, which could prove deadly during such a delicate procedure. To guard against this and other complications, Pam's brain and body were extensively instrumented and monitored, which makes what happened next even more intriguing. Pam told the doctor she left her body and became a spectator to what they were doing to her body. Later, she was able to describe people, procedures, and even medical instruments she could not possibly have seen.
Pam Reynolds had a very deep near-death experience at the time that she had documented no brainwave activity, no brainstem activity, and actually the blood had been physically drained from her head at the time. So this eliminates the possibility that this was a seizure phenomenon, because during her experience, she had no seizure activity on the EEG. In addition, she had plugs in both of her ears, and so she could not have physically heard what was being discussed in the operating room during the surgical procedure, and she could recall the accurate discussions that were going on between the surgeons at the time that she was having her experience.
Remember, every bodily reflex was being monitored. She was in a profoundly inactive state. But Pam Reynolds somehow was able to describe a particular surgical tool in amazing detail. A tool which she would later say looked like an electric toothbrush with a dent in it. She even noticed that the tool had interchangeable blades and that these were kept in something that she said looked like a socket wrench case. How could Pam Reynolds have described with such amazing accuracy the details of what took place in the operating room when she was, according to all monitoring devices, dead? Dr. J.P. Moreland, professor of philosophy at Bible University, finds this kind of experience compelling.
The most provocative evidence for heaven from near-death experiences seems to me to be cases where people come back from near-death experiences and they have information there's no way they could have had if they had just had a physical experience while on an operating table. For example, some people come back and they're able to recount conversations that their relatives have had 5 blocks away from the hospital. In other occasions, people have actually had experiences of objects on the hospital roof or somewhere else, where when people go to investigate whether those experiences were real, they see the objects just as the people saw them. In other occasions, people have met dead relatives that died about the same time the person died in the near-death experience. And they came back and reported the death of a relative that no one there in the operating room knew about. Now, this provides pretty strong evidence that something more is going on than just a lack of oxygen to the brain.
The Pam Reynolds experience would seem to add one more bit of evidence that the spirit lives on when the body dies. But lives on where? Where does that spirit go?
Look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. The soul is the part of you that doesn't entirely dissolve when you die. Your soul, it contains who you are, which at the appointed time then presents itself back to the Creator in the form of a spirit, in desperate hope of atonement, which is why the call for reconciliation to Yahuwah is made and greatly accepted by followers of Hamashiach. For ye were as sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and overseer of your souls. And having returned to him, we humbly submit to his shepherding with the end goal of eternal salvation, and endure with hope until the end. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man sees, why does he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. So hope leads to patience and to steps being taken which, when accumulated, gradually go on to form a solid platform of belief in what you have not yet attained. Yahuwah expects us to rely on and trust in him and to have utter confidence and faithfulness in him and in everything that he's promised. And an example can be seen in the book of Matthew, when Yahusha instructed his disciples to get into a ship where he was later going to catch up with them. But the ship got caught in a storm, and in the midst of the storm the disciples saw Yahusha walking towards them on the sea. At first they thought it was a spirit, but then Yahusha confirmed that it was he himself, and then invited Kepha to walk on the sea towards him, which Kepha began doing, but then started to sink because he was on new territory which terrified him. And immediately Yahusha stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O you of little belief, wherefore did you doubt? And so we see here the emphasis placed on not doubting and on believing on new horizons that Yahuwah has set for us, with the most important of them written down and preserved in his word, which is guarded and held near even when times get difficult. To trust in Yahuwah is to believe in Yahuwah, and to believe that through his power we can come through all things. For verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, Be ye removed, and be ye cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he says shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he says. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. And with prayer comes the confidence that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatsoever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we desired of him. Now, right now we're in the last days, and so really and truly our ultimate desire should be to not be cast aside from Yahuwah when we meet him. And so prayers associated around salvation or for our spiritual betterment are prayers which are of a much higher chance of being heard according to his will. And whether there are obstacles that we consider to be mountainous to overcome or not, we can trust that these sorts of petitions are desired of him. Petitions that require us to act or to commit to something in order to witness the manifestation of his power or his truth. The word says, O taste and see that Yahuwah is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. The word says taste. In other words, experiment or act and see for yourself that Yahuwah is good, and keep your trust in him, especially when the adversary comes along to sabotage, because those are the moments to show Yahuwah where your belief and trust really is. But without belief it is impossible to please him, for he that comes to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Now Yahuwah is the Most High, Almighty, far above any other entity. As the word says, Elohim stands in the assembly of the mighty. He judges among the Elohim. And so of course it makes sense to diligently seek after the one who has the overall say in both the heavenly and the physical realms, and to diligently seek Yahuwah in prayer, in his word, through meditation on his word, and with absolute belief in him being the rewarder for such diligence. Because the opposite of diligent seeking is to be caught up in or to prioritize the world, and to somewhat, if not entirely, let Yahuwah pass you by, or to be lukewarm, or to join those with their hearts already set to reject Yahusha HaMashiach, who are now susceptible to being used by Satan to usher in the devastation that awaits, which we can all see unfolding. Others who are not diligently seeking Yahuwah, or not using given available moments to seek him, they are being lured away by false doctrines and demonic distractions, or otherwise, in some more serious scenarios, they're just generally left open to demonic wrath, which will be increasing more and more in these last days, in these perilous times that the Bible speaks of. People are failing to understand what's unraveling more and more each day in the spiritual realm, which is on path to completely locking arms with the physical, the completeness when Yahushua HaMashiach arrives. And until that time, which is close, people are being warned and picked off. And don't think that children are exempt either. Generational curses are real, and parents are expected to follow Yahushua HaMashiach and train up their child in the way it's supposed to go. Yahuwah tells us exactly who our battles are truly against, and without Yahuwah's full armor on, how can a family expect protection from spiritual wickedness that's becoming more brazen every day?
This little girl broke her leg in 2 places, and when her parents checked back on their CCTV, they were frightened by what they saw. It looks like something pushes her over.
Huh? What happened?
I thought you hurt me.
A what?
I thought you hurt me.
What?
I heard some building doing my aid.
Who did?
A Dosian.
A ghost?
A Dosian hurt me.
A ghost came and hurt you?
Uh-huh.
I don't understand.
You know me hurt my aid at that.
How did you hurt your leg?
My Dosian hurt me and his boom do me and out and you boom do me. And another day, a little bit of
Ghosts are unclean spirits, demons, devils, the spirits of the ancient Nephilim that still roam this earth. That's what parents should be informed of, as well as the need to draw near to Yahuwah through the source that he gave us. Anyway, moving on, and to those under the hedge of protection of Yahushua HaMashiach, above all, take the shield of belief, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all of the fiery darts of the wicked. Because ye are of Yahuwah, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Other good examples of belief are in chapter 11 of the book of Hebrews, which expands a bit more on Moshe's time in Egypt. Verses 23 to 27 reads that, by belief Moshe, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of Yahuwah than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By belief he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Moshe's time in Egypt would have been somewhere around the 1400s to 1200s BC, at which time Egypt was still the ruling empire and remained so long afterwards. Egypt, with all of its architecture, engineering, its science and mathematics, medicine, its social developments, and of course its paganisms and idolatry, and its heavy influence of other deities, its women running around in skimpy attire. So Moshe was amongst all of this, which is somewhat of a parallel to today when you think about it. And yet through his belief in Yahuwah and in the arrival of his elect one, Yahushua HaMashiach, who Moshe wrote of in Deuteronomy chapter 18, Moshe held fast in his belief and resisted what Egypt had to offer. And so naturally the question has to be, are we prepared to do the same today ourselves? With all the luxuries and developments that this world offers largely through Satan, are we prepared to let them go because of our belief in Yahuwah and in the greater things that he has to offer through Yahushua HaMashiach? Or are we holding on to precious possessions investments or business ventures, or even friends, family or partners, holding them in higher esteem than the one who created everything? Well, Yahusha lets us know that he that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and he that takes not his stake and follows after me is not worthy of me. He that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it. Some people reason within themselves to say, I have my degree in education, I have my partner, I have my house and my luxuries, my nice job in the city, I have my life, and I'm loving life. And there's nothing wrong with loving life, only that if a life is outside of the will of Yahuwah, you will lose your life. He that loves his life shall lose it, and he that hates his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. What the word is saying is that we're in a world where we're encouraged and more so rewarded for doing things that are contrary to Yahuwah's will. And so, ultimately, on our part, sacrifices to some extent will need to be made. And so, if where necessary, you're prepared to lose certain things to ensure that your life is in line with Yahuwah's will, things which for the moment your flesh might hate to lose, then you will find your spiritual life and your eternal life. Taking up your stake and following Yahusha requires work that's beyond superficialities or worldly aspirations or expectations. There has to be work which goes hand in hand with your belief. As the word says, what does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he has belief and have not works? Can belief save him? And the answer, of course, is no. Belief on its own cannot save him, because belief, if it has not works, is dead, being alone. For as the body without the Ruach is dead, so belief without works is dead also. All beliefs, regardless of what they are, lead to some type of work. From what you think, to what you say, to what you do, it's all work stemming from what you believe. In the walk with Yahuwah, your works, to some extent, are your sacrifices, things which you're prepared to do or to put down. Like, for example, take Cain and Abel, the sons of Adam and Eve, who both made offerings to Yahuwah, leading to Cain's jealousy, however, and murder of his brother, because by belief, Abel offered unto Yahuwah a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. Yahuwah testifying of his gifts, and by it being dead yet speaks. Cain's offer to Yahuwah was the fruit of the ground, crops, things which wouldn't make no real difference to his life, things which wouldn't require much of a sacrifice, because Cain didn't believe that Yahuwah was worth much of an investment. Abel, on the other hand, however, he offered Yahuwah the firstlings of his flock, and the fat thereof, so things that would require Abel to make noteworthy changes in other areas of his life in order to compensate for his offering. So Abel believed that Yahuwah was worth making the sacrifice for, and trusted that things would be okay. Cain, however, he believed differently. Now Yahusha said, everyone that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or woman, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So the people who are first in this world, who are hanging on to or protecting certain lifestyles, or people that are against Yahuwah's will in exchange for immediate gratification or comfort, or to boost their credentials in this life, they will be lost in the life to come. Whereas those who, for the sakes of Yahusha and Mashiach, are prepared to go through discomforts and to reject worldly praises or vanities to be placed on a pedestal, and reject certain lifestyles, or the need to protect or justify wicked people, these are the ones who are often last in this world, but first in the one to come. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, says Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, says Yahuwah Almighty. So what kind of sacrifices are we prepared to make based on our belief in Yahuwah? What things could we sacrifice that we know will be appeasing to him, so that he might have respect unto our offering? Can you sacrifice those things right now and put the necessary work in, and put your trust in Yahuwah and believe that he will follow through for you? The word says that They that trust in Yahuwah shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abides forever. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in Yahuwah and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Yahuwah is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all that call upon him in truth. Are you calling upon Yahuwah in truth? And are you trusting in him? Because the fiery darts of disbelief or of distrust are at the helm of what's sinking most people, which in any case was prophesied to happen before the return of Yahusha HaMashiach, where the word says that before we're gathered onto him, there will be a falling away first, and that in the latter times some shall depart from the belief, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. The word says that all scripture is given by inspiration of Yahuwah and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of Yah may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Now that should be our reassurance for us to be able to deflect false doctrines and all forms of disbelief or distrust. But unfortunately, in these latter times, for correction or doctrine or instruction, most are looking for things that tell them what they want to hear, or that tell them what they've become accustomed to hearing, or things that cater to egos, or things which save any embarrassments of being wrong about something that they've held on to dearly, or things which bring satisfaction to their flesh in the here and now. A seducing spirit comes along, whispering to the unconscious, or encouraging or justifying reasons to disbelieve the word of Yahuwah, or encouraging fleshly weaknesses in unsuspecting persons, because for the largest part spirits go undetected, which is why Yahuwah tells us to put on his whole armor of truth, righteousness, peace, the study of his word, and above all belief, so that Yahuwah will fight for us in that largely undetected realm. It's like the word says, that the angel of Yahuwah encamps around them that fear him and delivers them. And so in the body of Yahusha HaMashiach, with Yahuwah's full armor on, I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yahuwah, which is in Yahusha HaMashiach our Adonai. And so to finish up, belief in Yahuwah being sovereign creator through his son, belief in his resurrection from the dead, and in him being the shepherd of our souls, based on necessary sacrifices that we will need to make, along with steps taken in belief of reaching the goal of salvation. Hopefully, these points have been put across in the video adequately. And so in closing, watch ye, stand fast in the belief, act you like men, be strong. And all praises to the Most High Elohim Yahuwah Almighty, through his Son, Yahusha HaMashiach, who is soon to appear to bring about justice, righteousness, and judgment on the earth, and who strengthens with his spirit the inner man and woman. And so on the day of his appearance, may we be accounted worthy to stand before him. Shalom to you all.